the voice of Miami. Highly questionable, Dan Le Batard, who can help us with the future of Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat. Let me start there, Danny. What is going to happen here? How serious do you take this opting out by Dwayne Wade?
I was unaware that Paulie's a locker room cancer. I did not know that.
Fritzy, how would you answer that?
Wow.
I think you just answered it. I think you both just answered that right there.
That's a very harsh word.
Cancer. Okay. So a cancer is a strong word for Paulie.
He can be difficult, as we all can be. We all have our mood swings.
All right, so what's happening? Do you take this serious, what Wade's doing?
Yes, I take it serious because it's the first time that Dwayne Wade doesn't work in concert with the organization. Like, this is interesting for a lot of different reasons. Fascinating, actually, Dan, because you got business against sentiment, and the Miami Heat are not going to give Dwayne Wade the Kobe deal that the Lakers gave Kobe. They're just not going to do that, and it's interesting because you've got a conflict between competing truths. You can see both sides of this, and when you distill it right down to what Dwayne Wade is owed, he is owed more by the Heat than he is by any other organization. You could see why he would be insulted if another organization offers him more, but the Heat don't believe that that's going to happen. And so when you keep distilling it, where you get to is Dwayne Wade basically wants, in the third year of a contract, for a business to pay him when he's probably not going to be good anymore. And that's not something that businesses generally want to do, not the smart ones.
You know, I look for sentiment. Tim Duncan retires this. I mean, it's nice when we see that. It's rare to see it now, and I would like to see Dwayne Wade, retire a Miami Heat than a Milwaukee Buck or whatever. But I think the third year is what would scare me. But then that's what is that Dwayne Wade saying, "Look, I gave up money to try to keep LeBron here. You got to give me some money back somewhere down the road."
Well, here's the thing. I mean, he wants to be reimbursed, and the feeling in the Heat organization, they're not trying to insult him. The Miami Heat want him to return. They want him to be a lifetime member of the Heat. And what I've heard within the organization is we're not merely going to offer fair. We're going to offer more than fair because he has more value to us than he does to anyone else. But where are we when what he's asking for is more than fair? And when there's a conflict there, you get where you are now, where Dwayne Wade's opting out, and $16 million next season isn't enough. And he wanted him to opt in for $16 million, and he said no. And so there's your conflict.
What do you expect out of Justice Winslow?
Man, that's an interesting one. Did you hear what the Celtics were offering?
Yes.
This is a great story. The whole thing's a great story because I want you to imagine this, okay? The Celtics were offering 4 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to try to get to 9 before the Heat, and then when the Heat got Winslow, to the Heat to get Winslow. And the Miami Heat said no because Pat Riley likes Winslow and doesn't like draft picks. But can you imagine if Michael Jordan took Kaminsky and said no to the Celtics, thinking that they were trying to trade up for Kaminsky? Can you think about this for a second? If Michael Jordan thought they were trying to get the big white guy, Boston loves the big white guy, and Michael Jordan said, "No, he's mine. I got Kaminsky." And then all of a sudden, the Celtics are calling the Heat and like, "Hey, you guys want to give us Winslow?" No, thanks.
That's a lot of draft picks. I know you may not like draft picks, but these are Celtic draft picks, so they might be a little bit more valuable than anybody else's draft picks here.
Well, what they were offering is 2 teens this year, 2 20s in the future, and then 2 2s. And it does make you wonder if that's not enough to get you to move up a couple of spots, what are all those assets actually worth? Like the Celtics and the Sixers are collecting these assets, but if that doesn't get you to number 10, like what's that actually worth?
But we're also looking at teams, some build in the draft and some build through free agency. For all the great things the Lakers have done, they've always acquired big men. They've never drafted big men, Bynum, but you're able to trade for it. They draft guards. So I don't know where the league is going, and if is there a blueprint? Is Miami going to follow the blueprint of the Golden State Warriors or what the Lakers are trying? It seems like everybody's fallen in line with that's the way the game is now being played.
Well, Miami was playing positionless ball before that. One of the things that Eric Spoelstra didn't get enough credit for is that he changed everything around LeBron James. LeBron James was playing the 4 and the 5 in Miami. And so Miami was doing that before Golden State was doing that, and D'Antoni was doing it before Miami was doing it, and Don Nelson was doing it before D'Antoni was doing it. It kind of helps when you have LeBron James and Steph Curry, you know what I mean? Like, if it's not Steven Jackson, and you know, it kind of helps when you've also got the best players in the world who happen to not be giants.
Did you see any similarities with body language with LeBron and David Blatt and Eric Spoelstra and LeBron in the early stages?
Oh, I think this is such a different deal, Dan. I think that LeBron James, I mean, it was really packaged very nice by Sports Illustrated, and just a great job by his marketing people about making it about the story that would feel good and that consumers would applaud. But I think it had a lot to do with he wanted to go to Cleveland where there wasn't a coach on top of the organization. He was never going to have the power in Miami that he has in Cleveland, and you're watching it now. He's going to make Dan Gilbert go deep into the luxury tax. And it appears, you tell me if I'm wrong here, because I don't think I'm wrong. Like, I asked Sean Marion this question the other day on the radio, and he just laughed and said, "You're hilarious." When I'm asking, hey, does LeBron work for the coach, general manager, and owner in Cleveland, or do they work for him? And I asked that question of you, and I asked the question of the audience. What's the answer to that question?
I think that they work for him.
Yeah, that was never going to happen in Miami. Like, and he knew that. Like,
well, Pat wouldn't let it happen, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but I thought that he was dismissive to Spoelstra in the early stages, and I don't know if there was sort of that something happened where it changed, the relationship changed.
Yeah, they won. They lost to Dallas. He wouldn't go into the post. I mean, Riley and Spoelstra were trying to push him into the post, and he didn't want to do it. And then he lost to Dallas, and he was ashamed, and he thought it was going to be a lot easier. And so he went into the post. He mastered the sport. You really can make the argument, Dan. I mean, does LeBron himself actually need a coach right now? I mean, he's mastered the sport, but to me, he needs a coach the way the golfer needs a caddy, the way the CEO needs an administrative assistant. He needs the coach to bench Kendrick Perkins and Mike Miller and Sean Marion because they all took discounts to be next to him, and he can't be benching them. So, like, he basically needs him. He needs David Blatt to be a caddy.
But he also has to show respect to Blatt, so then Blatt will be able to do the dirty work here. And when you have J.R. Smith nodding off in a pep talk moment there in the locker room, I don't think they respect him. But they don't respect him, I think, because I don't think LeBron respects him.
But do they have to? I mean, I understand.
Those guys do. LeBron, LeBron doesn't need a coach. I understand that.
No, but
everybody else
Dan,
does.
Because they were in the finals without Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. Like, they were in the finals and they won 2 games, and if Shumpert makes a shot, maybe, do they? I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying, that in the utopian place, that's the way that people do it theoretically. But I don't know. Do they?
Well, if you look at other coaches then, did Riley, they need Riley to win those championships?
Oh, there's just a lot of mythologizing around this. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm asking you the question because we believe so much in coach worship, and we
Yes.
believe so much in the paradigm and the construct. And what I'm telling you is LeBron James is in Cleveland because he wants to take an axe to the construct. Like, he's the coach, he's the general manager, he's going to hold the owner's head in the water, in the toilet, until he goes through the luxury tax and signs his buddy Tristan Thompson for a max contract, even though none of us think that Tristan Thompson is worth a max contract. We can sit here and argue about whether he is using that power correctly, but I don't think that we can argue that he doesn't have that power. I mean,
Yeah.
and furthermore, I think he's entitled to it because he doubled the worth of the franchise when he got there. They went from, 19th in attendance to second.
But does he want to be coached by a Jeff Van Gundy or a Tom Thibodeau? See, part of me thinks he doesn't want to be coached because you can make the argument LeBron has never really had a Hall of Fame coach, a great coach. But then there's part of me that says, he's chosen to go to Miami. He chose to go back to Cleveland, and he went into these situations where there were already coaches in place. But I don't think he wants that tough-minded guy, that guy who might say no to him.
This is what I think he wants. I think he wants the coach and general manager job that all of us would want, which is all of the power, none of the responsibility. All of the power, none of the consequences. I coach the team, and if we win, I will get all the credit. And if we lose, Blatt will get blamed. I will make the trades. I will get Mike Miller and Kendrick Perkins and Sean Marion. I will be involved in Tristan Thompson Mac's contract. But if it doesn't work out, hey, it's not my fault. We've got a general manager.
Wouldn't it have been great if somebody voted for LeBron for Coach of the Year? I would love to have seen somebody say, yeah, you know what? And rightfully so. I mean, you could have made the argument that he could have gotten a vote for Coach of the Year.
Executive of the Year, too.
Well, I didn't like the moves they made as far as bringing in some of those corpses. But, you know, I remember when Michael Jordan thought he could be a GM, too, when he wanted to bring in Walter Davis and some of these his Carolina guys. And that didn't work. And then all of a sudden he turned it over to Jerry Krause, and then they started winning championships.
Can we have a different conversation, though? Is he entitled to it? Like, I understand that we believe in the idea of authority and leadership, and you have to have a power construct and a power paradigm, and the people in charge are the people in charge. But given his general value, given that he's underpaid.
Yeah.
Is he entitled to that kind of power? If you're going to have a capped sport and you're going to say you're underpaid and we're going to do this by rule as the Clippers, sell for $2 billion, and he turns around and says, okay, if you're going to cap my money, then you're going to pay me in power.
Well, can you pay him as a coach, too? Bill Russell was a player coach. Mm-hmm. Could he have been paid as, let's say in modern times, Bill Russell gets $25 million, and then we give him $5 million more, $10 million more by being a coach. We could add to his salary, and that doesn't hurt the salary cap.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Dan. I don't think he actually wants the consequences and the responsibility. For example, he's a union vice president. Like, he wants to be around where the power is, and he wants to be in the room where the money and power are divided. But I don't think he actually wants the responsibility. Like, nobody wants – he's passive, right? He is not about confrontation. He's not Kobe. He's not Michael. He's not getting in anybody's face. So he is not the guy who wants to have to bench Mike Miller or make the decision on – he wants to make the decision. He doesn't want anyone to know that he's the one making the decision.
Well, we all know he is.
Right, we know, but we can't really – yes, we all know. But does Sean Marion really know that LeBron James benched him?
Yes, because LeBron put in Tristan Thompson in one game. He motioned to him, get in the game. So they all know. It's just you could get Tyronn Lue to carry out his dirty work.
It's great.
LeBron wants you out of the game, all right?
It's great, and it's so great. That's what he wants as a coach. It's the deal any of us would want.
Could Wade end up in Cleveland?
It's hard to imagine that happening unless it was a full wrestling heel turn out of spite, because the dollar difference is so different. It's an enormous dollar difference.
But is he upset at LeBron because LeBron cost Dwayne a lot of money?
That's weird, though, Dan, because I've talked to Dwayne about this, and he never blames LeBron for it. And one of the things that's in play here with the Heat right now is the Heat are like, wait a minute, you want us to give you money that LeBron cost you? Like, I mean, we're not big fans of LeBron right now. Like, he cost you that money. Why do you not blame him and want us to pay for it?
Do you think people in Miami will go see the Amy Schumer movie with LeBron in it?
No. My father when there was a commercial for that during the finals, and my father, through curses, said to my mother that there's a movie we won't be seeing.
See if you can get your dad to show more breast on the show.
Oh, it's so unpleasant.
Oh, it's so great. Just you and Bomani's reaction when when he starts to lift up his shirt. And I go, I love it.
You worked at that place. Do you realize that in the history of the company, nobody gets away with more than my father?
Oh.
Crazy.
Well, Screaming A. Smith may get away with a little bit more than you did.
My father's shooting double middle fingers at LeBron on television.
Thanks for joining us, Danny.
All right, buddy. Good talk.
That's Dan Le Batard. Highly questionable.